Hi, Max with S.T.A.R Productions, spiritually trained and renewed productions. It's not enough to be talented, you have to be spiritually trained and renewed. I have with me today the one, the only, Victoria Moghaddami.
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 Yes, you said it properly.
Who's
What an
here
introduction.
gracing us with her presence at the studio of S.T.A.R Productions. Welcome, Victoria.
Well, what an honor. Thank you for having me.
Wow. Thank you so much for making this trip and making this possible.
Absolutely. It's an honor. It really is.
I have lots of questions for you.
Hey.
It's like a 20-30 minute show, but I'll squeeze as much as I can in
Ask
there.
away. It's weird being on the other side now. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's good to interview an interviewer.
Yeah.
So tell us, who's Victoria?
Oh,
I know people
let's
see you on TV all the time, and they see you doing this and doing that, and you're broadcasting here and there.
Yeah, well, I work in television, and I have for several years now. I'm kind of a chameleon. I'll be 28 in November, and, I still am learning about myself. I'm a passionate individual. I am, a child of God. And there's a lot of things that I love in life. I love, serving others. I love watching sports. I love interviewing fascinating people. But, I think the beauty in life is that as we grow, we still learn something new about ourselves. So to define myself in one category would be unfair because I am still growing. I'm still learning.
Still on that journey.
Yeah, I'm a collage. There's a lot of things I love to do in life. I love to travel. I love to get to know new people. I love, to continue friendships that I've had for 20 years now. And
wow.
There's a lot of things that I love to do. Yeah.
High school friends.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I actually do have a group of high school friends who we are still very good friends. Most people, I think, up and move on from high school.
Right.
We're still family.
Do y'all have like 10-year reunion, 5-year reunion?
Yeah,
How does that work?
Well, we're coming up on our 10-year reunion, and that will be hosted by the school. But we all have been in each other's weddings, and it's a big group of us. There's like 25, 30 people.
And you still remain close?
Oh, family.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's weird. People are like, you're still friends with people that you went to high school with? I am. Yeah.
That's true friendship, actually.
It's a true friendship. I love it.
Not that fake stuff. That's true friendship.
Yeah.
Give us an idea of when you realized that you wanted to get into TV. The whole world that you're in now, when did that click for you that that's what you want to do?
Well, I always knew that I wanted to be in entertainment. I was a very vivacious young girl. I grew up with all boys, so I was a tomboy growing up, but I still had this sense of, I remember I would go out and my mom and I lived with my grandmother for a few years after my parents had gotten divorced, and I would go out to my grandmother's driveway and I'd pretend that I would that I was performing for people. And I did love Britney Spears back in the day, so I would perform her songs. But high school is when I realized that I wanted to go into TV because my junior year, they started a program for media. And I said, well, that's fun, TV. I actually tried modeling back in the day. I was shut down pretty hard by several agencies. They were like, you're too short. So I figured, okay, TV. And I never 100% at the time wanted to act. I just kind of wanted to be me. And so I figured, well, what about the news? I've always been fascinated with news. I feel like I can be myself, and started these classes and fell in love with it. And I felt very privileged because I went to college knowing what I wanted to do, and I was able to stick with one major throughout my 4 years. I had a lot of friends that were wishy-washy or didn't know, or they graduated and didn't know, and that's okay. Again, the beauty of life, you discover more about yourself as you get older. I think there's beauty in aging, but I knew what I wanted to do, and so I went, I was headstrong about it. I studied and I focused and graduated, and I got into it.
Wow. And when you go through that process, was there some type of internship that was involved to get you to that specific, we'll call it a channel? No.
Yeah. For the station, yeah.
Station.
There was. I was very last minute on it, and I was very privileged and very honored as to how I got my internship. I worked. I did not have much of my parents' financial help, just because both of my parents were not really able financially to help me. So I was working very late. I worked in the restaurant industry, but I, would go, and then I'd wake up early to do an internship at a radio station. So I'd have to be there. I'd get off of work at 1 o'clock in the morning and be at my internship at 5 in the morning, go to school, and then continue another internship at the TV station. But I got that last minute because one of my professors, who is now one of my mentors, I guess noticed my focus and my determination, and so he made a really quick phone call, because I waited till my last semester. Don't do that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need an internship. And when the deadline had hit us all in the face, he made a phone call and he made it happen, and I was really appreciative of that. But I was going full circle all day long. But yes, I took an internship at Fox 17 in Nashville. And, that's where the networking began. I'm a big networker.
Yes.
And that was where I really started, diving in deep and networking with people and trying to figure out, okay, am I going to get a job in this industry? What's next? So, yeah.
I agree. Relationship is everything. Being able to network with people and actually build a community somehow.
Yeah.
That takes you a lot of places. It's often said it's not even what you know. A lot of time it's who you know.
I believe in that 100%. I mean, you need something to back it up, but in those beginning years, it's very important not to burn bridges. There's people that can upset you, or maybe a boss that you didn't necessarily like, but it is very important to just understand that burning a bridge is not going to help you in the long run.
It doesn't.
And TV is a very small industry. A lot of people don't realize that, but it is a very small industry, as I'm sure most industries are, but they're very small.
That's true, actually. It's always amazing to me that I would meet a director I've worked in the past, and I would meet them in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Different project, different company, and they're like, oh, you. Oh, you. Kind of happy I didn't act up on set. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
For them to be able to say, okay, I'll work with you again.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
There's a sense of familiarity.
Yeah.
There's a safety net when you meet someone, and then on down the road you run into them again. It's like, oh, I know you. I may not have known you well, but there's a sense of comfort there.
Absolutely.
That I want to work with you now.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Networking, important.
It is. Tell us from what I understand, you wake up as early as 3 in the morning. Before we came on set, you were telling me a little bit of that story. What would drive a human being to wake up that early in the morning? So what is your drive to go to work? Do you feel like there's a purpose to what you're doing? Is that what's keeping you and driving you to go to work and make something happen? What is that like?
I am an individual that, like many out there, but there's, in my opinion, not enough people that are driven by passion.
Yeah.
I think passion is what drives us. And I knew that graduating college in 2012, when I graduated from MTSU here in Middle Tennessee, I realized that it was going to take hard work and determination to get where I wanted to go. TV is a very competitive market. And you got to do what you got to do. You don't really, in those beginning stages, you don't turn stuff down if you want to make it.
Amen.
And I know people that have turned it down. I know girls that didn't want to dye their hair. They didn't want to cut their hair. They didn't want to, do the overnight shift. I have done overnight shifts.
Overnight shift.
Paid my dues in that realm. Probably wouldn't go back. But you don't say no. You learn and you soak up all the knowledge that you can, and you do what it takes, and you pay your dues, because if you're going to get higher, in my opinion, you're a more respectable individual in that field if you've done the other shifts, the other jobs.
You've done your homework.
Yeah.
You've done the work.
People can say, you know what? She may be telling me to do this, or she may be advising this, but she's been in my shoes and she knows what it feels like. So getting up at 3 is not super exciting. I drink probably more coffee than I'd like to. I actually only drink about a cup a day, so I'm not that bad with it. But keeping healthy is important.
It is.
I keep on top of my health to make sure that I'm providing my body the nutrients that it needs, and I give myself quiet time.
Absolutely.
You know, you have to.
Our body is probably our greatest asset that we have.
Yes.
And people oftentimes don't take care of their bodies.
You'd be amazed how you can feel just by taking care of your body.
Absolutely. So
It makes a difference.
walk me through a typical day for you.
Okay.
Let's start with that 3 a.m. people. 3 a.m.
3 in the morning, which is actually glorious again compared to the
I'm on
overnight
that second
shift that I
stage of
was
sleep
on.
at that point.
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying, you know, on-air personalities, especially in smaller markets, are not just going on air and that's it. A lot of people think that I go in to host a show in the morning and then I anchor a noon show, and then all that time between and after, I'm
chilling.
That would be the life. If that were the
Please
case,
tell us.
I will gladly wake up at 3 a.m. I don't care.
Tell us the reality.
Yeah, so here's the reality. I wake up at 3, I'm in studio by 5. We go live at 6 to 7 a.m. And then after that, I take, you know, what's breakfast for most people is my lunch break. So I take a lunch break. And the great thing about where I work now is that they give me the flexibility to, if I want to take 2 hours off, I take 2 hours off. Because I promise you, I will make that 2 hours up somewhere else. But I usually get back into studio around 9 and then my shoots start. Now, I was not always anchoring the noon, so without that show, you know, I would shoot from, you know, 9 to 1 or 2. Now, because of the noon, I really only have about an hour to work with. You know, sometimes if someone needs to start earlier, we'll start at 8 o'clock and shoot. That way I have from 8 to 10:30, 10:45, because I need to be back in studio by 11 to start reviewing all of my scripts and prepare for the noon show, which is a half hour. Tuesdays we have our staff meeting, so I get to look forward to a fun staff meeting every Tuesday. But you know, it varies. That's the beauty about my job, is that I could have a shoot that could take me until, you know, 5 p.m. to finish. You know, so and that can be a challenge, because when you're up at 3 and, you know, 4 hours of my work day, people aren't even at work yet, but I've already completed half my paid work day. And that's the challenge, is I have to understand that some people may not be able to shoot until later. And so if that's the case, then I have to kind of cater. I might take a longer break in the morning and, you know, shoot later in the day, which sounds great because you got that little break in there, but it's you know, when you're ready to be done, you're ready to be done.
Wow.
So it varies. And then, you know, we go to a lot of events at night sometimes, you know, fundraisers, and you know, our most recent one was it was the Soki Sip and Pour, and it was to benefit Big Brothers Big Sisters. Nice. And it's a big annual event that, you know, it's a fun one, but it doesn't start until 7 o'clock at night.
And you gotta be
on a Thursday. Yeah, so you go and you make an appearance, and it's fun.
Yeah.
But every day is different, and so it's important to just find sleep in between.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, they said, if you're doing what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. Is that true for you?
Absolutely.
So waking up at 3 because you're doing what you love.
Yeah, there are days where it's a challenge, just because naturally, I mean, you can't stop the process of being tired when you're tired. But it's worth it when I interview someone and they change my life by the end of that interview.
Wow.
Or they change my perspective, or they make me realize a part of my life that I need to be a little bit more thankful for. You know, I wake up every single day and it's like my prayers. It's a routine for me. I say what I'm thankful for. And if I by chance forget that day, I ask for forgiveness and I do it again the next day.
Yes.
And you know, I'll never forget, I interviewed one girl who has, gosh, forgive me, I don't know if I'll be able to pronounce the name, but it's a very rare disease. I think it's micropolycystic saccharidosis. MPS is the shorter version.
That's it.
And this girl was told that she was not going to live past the age of 16, and she was told at 12 when she was diagnosed.
Wow.
Started planning her own funeral at 12 years old so that she could take a burden off of her parents. she surpassed 16. The doctor said, if you surpass 16, you will be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Like, this is what this disease does to you. Like, you're not gonna make it. Well, she is now 22 years old, and she works out every single day, and she is healthier than ever.
Wow.
And it is people like her that give me chills. They make me cry. I try not to cry in interviews, you know, but sometimes it's the passion. It's I'm human. You feel that, you know? So that is what drives me to wake up at 3 a.m. every single morning, you know, and really, I don't feel like I'm working, you know? It makes it all worth it in the end.
Yeah. You know, I noticed on social media that you were thanking maybe some of the more mature broadcaster you work with for making you part of the team. What is it like working with fellow broadcasters? Do you guys take turns on each hour? This is your hour, that's their hour?
Yeah, well, in where I work now, a lot of people questioned why I downsized in markets, because I started in very high markets and then now I'm in a very low market. It was for opportunity. And again, it goes back to what we just, you know, stated. When you want to have success in an industry that you were passionate about, you do what it takes. And they offered me a wonderful opportunity, and I was able to, prior to that, work with men and women that I grew up watching. And, you know, since I was yay high, who, you know, at that time I was like, I want to be like them. And
cool.
Here I am working alongside of them. And it was really, really cool. But now I've taken on a different role, because where I work now, I'm kind of the more experienced one. We're all very young, but, you know, I'm the more experienced one. So I take on this mentoring role now.
Nice.
Where I can kind of help teach and help answer questions. You know, I've got, you know, young reporters and producers and directors coming up to me saying, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, look over my script. What do you think? You know, and I still have so much learning to do, so I'm by no means an expert, but it is nice to be able to have some knowledge to be able to relay to them and teach them, you know, the same questions I was asking just a few years ago.
That's fantastic.
So it's really cool. Yeah, but I've learned my boss. I am very fortunate because I really love my boss. My boss is awesome. And I've learned a lot from her. She's taught me things that I can take with me out of the workplace and incorporate into my everyday life to make me a better person, a better professional. And that stuff, you just can't pay for that. That's priceless.
That's true.
So in ways I'm teaching, but in ways I'm still learning, and it's awesome.
And I think that's a great place to be in life. It's been told to be effective and to be in a place of contentment in life, one must have a mentor, you must have a colleague, a friend, and you must have a mentee. So somebody's pouring in you, you're sharing across the room with somebody else, and then you're pouring into somebody else.
You have to.
Which seems to be what your life is right now, being able to, the newcomers that's coming in, to be that mentor figure for them.
It's funny you bring that up. My former co-host and I are still very close. I love him and his wife. I love, you know, their families. And he and I talk all the time. His name is Landon. And we bonded so quickly because we think alike in that sense that you have to take the knowledge that you're being taught, but you also need to return the favor to somebody else. And I'll never forget one day when I got a text message from him saying, you know, it really seems like you're taking so-and-so under your wing and showing them and believing in them. And that's what life is about. I mean, we send each other little things every now and again, words of encouragement. We read a lot of the same books, and we'll send it in the morning to get both of our days started right. And to have a person like that you can lean on, that understands, that you also worked with, you know, but you can kind of, you know, you evolve together.
Yes.
As humans, as friends, and it's a beautiful thing to have. But it's funny that you bring that up, because that is something that I strive for. You have to give back.
Yeah.
That's very important.
And you made mention of something that's also as important. In order to, when we are in one place in life and we're trying to establish something, oftentimes people don't realize that you need to get in touch, or you need to be involved with people of the same mind. People who are thinking the same thing, reading the same books, so that you can get to the place. If I'm trying to be debt free, I cannot be talking to a spender or somebody who's not in that.
Exactly.
Exactly. So you being connected with that coworker and talking the same language, that helps you grow. Go to the next level.
And that's why surrounding yourself with people, as hard as it can be to cut certain people out of your life, if you want to progress, sometimes that's what you need to do.
Yes.
You just have to.
I agree.
And so it's been hard, but you know, and another thing that we've chatted about, my former co-host and I, is you know, we really don't talk to a lot of people these days. I mean, we talk to a lot of people, but friends that we make time to hang out with, it's not that we don't want to hang out with everyone, it's just you can't. You're busy, and it's important that the people that you're spending the most time with are going to help you grow into the person that you want to be.
Yes. I have a pastor in New York, my former pastor in New York, Dr. A.L. Bernard, out of Christian Cultural Center. It's a mega church in Brooklyn. He would say this, and this remains with me forever. Whenever you're the smartest one in your group, it's time to move to a new group.
Absolutely.
You gotta find people to stretch you. You gotta find people who'll talk into your life. You gotta find people who's not gonna say yes all the time, who's gonna, you know, say no and talk about it and come to a resolution.
Because you have to grow.
You do.
You do. I love that.
So we met at an event where you were hosting, and it was your way of giving back. As a TV personality, they called you on and you were hosting that event. How often do you do that? Like you already have a crazy day, what I would call a crazy day in my world.
Long day.
A long day. And then you still have time after work, because that event started like 7:30 or so, and didn't end maybe for 10 or so.
10, and I still have to get up at 3.
So is that something you do often, and why do you do it?
Yeah, it is. I do it actually. I do it a lot, and I'm honored because I have people that reach out to me that say, "Hey, we want you to MC an event. We love your energy. We want you to come and kind of help us entertain." And how flattering is that? Why wouldn't you be flattered? People want you to come and kind of host their event. So it was nerve-wracking. The first time I ever did it, I was very nervous because it's not even like I got like an easy small start. It was gonna be in front of 500 people, and I was like, oh, okay, never done this before. And there's a sense of practice that you need, because entertaining a crowd can be very hard.
Yes.
And especially, you know, the night that we met, I was very tired, you know, and so to have that energy, and I'm vivacious anyways, but when I'm tired, I just get awkward. And I'm usually the one handling great awkward situations. I can put awkward, you know, I can kick awkward down to the floor. I'm good at that. But when I'm tired, I get awkward because you just try too hard. And so that can be a challenge at times. But yeah, I MC events quite often, and I've done outdoor events, I've done indoor events, I've done balls, I've done just, you know, fundraisers. And so each one teaches me something new. And the reason I do it is because, one, it helps me grow as an on-air personality. 2, I get to meet incredible people like yourself. I mean, you and I wouldn't be here right now. Had it not been for that night. I don't know, maybe on down the road, God would have put our paths together, but as of right now, I'm having full faith that we wouldn't be here right now. So I get to meet really incredible people. And 3, it teaches me how to handle certain situations on the fly. That's one thing that you need in TV, is you have to be able to ad-lib. You have to be able to fix situations on the fly. When I've got my directors and producers freaking out in my ear because something's going wrong behind the scenes, it is my job to look calm and cool and collected on camera to make it look like we know what we're doing. So I learn a lot from it, and I'm a knowledge person. I like to learn life experiences, and so any chance, if I can do it, then I absolutely will.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow. You know, it's that night. I met you that night, and I'm thinking, wow, she is a great host. And I come to find out that you're on TV, and I'm looking at what you do in social media, and I'm like, she got it all together. Got it all together. And then suddenly, you posted something on Facebook that got my attention. And I'm like, you would not be able to connect this with that. So on Facebook, you posted the fact that you had an unfortunate situation that happened to you as a child. And you were brave enough to come out and actually talk about that. That post resonated with me so hard because I'm in the business of seeing people healed, people who are going through stuff. As a preacher, traveling preacher, I see people going through stuff and wish that we could do something fast to get them out of it. And oftentimes, they're not able to talk about it until they're fully healed.
Yes.
So, would you be able to share with our audience what happened to you?
Yes, absolutely.
And how did you overcome that to the point that you can open up your window and say, yeah, I've been there, but I've got it all together now?
Years in the making. Years in the making. You bring up a great point. Social media has given our society a wonderful platform. Look what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're about to change lives.
Yes.
But at the same time, it puts, especially our younger generations, but even as adults, I mean, we're human. It gives people this assumption that someone has their life together because we post the happy moments. You know, rarely are we posting sad moments. Usually, if it's someone passes away, a pet, a family member, friend, that's like the extent of the sadness that we see.
True.
But we can use social media for a wonderful thing, and that's what I wanted to do that day. So when I was 6 years old, I was sexually abused, and my parents divorced when I was 2 years old. And so I traveled back and forth. I was born in Florida and then raised in Nashville, Tennessee. And I traveled back and forth a lot, and my father is half Iranian, half Russian. He was born in Iran. The majority of his younger years were in Iran. And so the way that he grew up, the way that he viewed women was very different than some people in our culture here in America. And that's in a lot of cultures, you know, a lot of different countries around the world. There's just a different view on everything, really, not just women. And my dad had a lot of people coming in and out of the house. He got into business with the wrong people, and a man who actually ended up blackmailing my father. His son was 18 years old at the time, and I'll never forget, I was in my father's living room, and it took me years to remember this because I blocked out that portion of it. It took me years of counseling to really be able to remember a lot of what happened. I was sitting on his lap, and the guy, his name was Vaskar, and he was, I don't know what ethnicity, he may have been Iranian, I don't know if he was Indian, I don't know, but I was sitting on his lap, and he started making these motions against me, and as a child, you don't know what that is, but you just know, you know enough about the human body, like what's what. And he took me into the back room, and that's kind of where it all started. I was sexually abused. He felt me up. He, you know, made me do things to him that, you know, were just awful. And as a child, you know what you're doing isn't right, but you're scared because he's saying that everything's okay, you know, and that I can't go tell anyone. And as a child, you don't know who to believe. So I didn't tell anyone, and I wasn't going to tell my father because at that age, I still didn't know how to feel about my dad. You know, I was primarily with my mom and my grandma, and my family here in Tennessee is who I clung to. Every time I visited my father, that would happen.
Wow. And
so finally, I went to a Montessori school in elementary school, and I was the class clown. I was up doing Steve Urkel impressions. So I was really good at being the class clown, and one day it took a hard turn. I was very to myself. I was very quiet because I was holding in this guilt of feeling that this was my fault. And I didn't know that if I told my mom or my grandmother that I would get in trouble. There's that sense of fear, and that's an awful thing because this adult who knows full and well what they're doing is making a child feel guilty for their wrongdoing, and that's how I felt. So I remember one night sitting at my mom's, well, I was sitting at the kitchen table. My mom was she used to make cakes on the side she works for an airline, but she used to decorate cakes on the side. So I always had fabulous cakes for my birthdays and celebrations. She was making me a cake. I think I was graduating from something, and I was watching the news, and I just broke down. My mom and my grandmother were sitting across from me. My mom was out decorating a cake, and I broke down. And my mom said, "What is wrong?" And I said, I'm so sorry. It's my fault." And I told her what happened. I said, this guy that Dad has over, his son, his name is Vaskar, he touches me and he does things to me and he tells me not to tell anyone, and I'm so sorry for doing it. And my mom, my mom is a strong woman. She's about 5'2". I get my height from my dad, but she's about 5'2", and she's a firecracker, that's for sure. And my mom did the right thing. She immediately put me into counseling, and I was very quiet. I wasn't much to talk about what happened, and I felt shameful. I know that there was a lot of arguing going on between my parents, so my mom decided it would be best to keep me from my dad for years. When she finally allowed me to see him again, it was at the time where, I don't know, I may have been 10 or 12. As a woman, parts of my body were developing, and my father asked me inappropriate questions. He asked me to raise my shirt because he was proud of me. And I played along with it, and I went back to the back room and I called my mom. It was at 10 o'clock at night, I remember. And I whispered on the phone, I said, I want to come home. My mom didn't even ask me a question. She said, get your things packed. I'm going to get, Dion to come get you. Dion was a very close family friend growing up in Florida. Actually, we're still friends with their family today. She's got a daughter and a son that are my age. And so she said, I'm going to call her to come and get you. Don't tell your father. Well, I did, and I ran away. And of course, my dad had every cop in town looking for me, and my mom called him, and she said, Victoria's coming back home. I don't want to speak to you until we go to court. And so when she took me to school that following Monday, she had informed the staff as to what had happened, and she said her father might come up here and try to get her to get back at me. Do not let him take her. And she had to open up. So it was wow. A shameful feeling, because all of a sudden what happened to me, not only was it hard to tell my own mom, but now my school, my teachers, my principals, they all know what happened to me. And you feel like you're walking naked in public in front of these people. And at that age, you don't know, what's going, you don't know about that stuff, you're a child. And so I felt very shameful. Well, sure enough, 2 days later, my father was up at the school, and he refused to listen to authority, and he went raging through the school. And so I was sitting in class, and again, it was a Montessori school, so we sit cross-legged and, or we're up and, doing hands-on work. And I remember we were all listening to the teacher talk, and I was sitting there, and I remember one of the teachers came up and got me, and she said, hey, come with me. And I thought to myself, this cannot be real. And they hid me in a bathroom. And it was embarrassing, because now not only did I have to tell my mom, did she have to tell the principals and the teachers, but now my classmates, my friends, my peers are wondering why the teachers are bringing me into the bathroom and holding me hostage.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden there's cops there, and it was awful. And all of this was my father getting back at my mother, but I was reaping
Stuck in the middle.
Yeah. And so for years, it was very hard because I was pulled away from my dad. I was sexually abused. I was pulled away from my dad. And we were living with my grandmother, and I was in a private school. We didn't have a lot of money. I was made fun of a lot. Like, why can't your mom, afford her own home? And when I finally hit public school, 7th grade, I'll never forget, I wore the same pair of jeans every single year because my mom was like, I can't afford to buy you a huge bulk amount of clothes at once. And she was shopping at TJ Maxx when all my friends were shopping at Abercrombie and Hollister. I know, first world problems. But as a kid, when that stuff really matters, it matters because that's when you get bullied. That's when people make fun of you. Wow. And so 7th grade, I'll never forget. It's a joke now because the people that I told you at the very beginning of this that are like family to me, those were the people making fun of me. I mean, it was all in good heart, but it hurt at the time. I wore the same pair of jeans and they were short on me because I was going through a massive growth spurt. And so I had to unhem the bottoms and they made fun of me. And so it felt like one thing after the other for a kid. And you're trying to learn about yourself as a child. You're dealing with all these hormones, it's already going to be a hot mess dealing with a soon-to-be teenager, but then you're battling through all of these other challenges, and that's life. But the damage that sexual abuse can have on someone is absolutely, undeniably, I don't even have the right words for it. It's awful.
There are things. I'm naturally a calm type of guy. It takes a lot to get me to speak out loud. But there are things that make me furious on the inside. And that's one of them. When a grown man, would take advantage of a child. And oftentimes, I kind of rack my brain and I'm like, what is wrong with that person to go to such great extent to destroy or try to destroy somebody's life? And apparently, praise God, he didn't destroy yours. How did you get your breakthrough? The fact that you came out and said it.
Yeah,
that was a breakthrough.
And I ramble on. So when I hit my high school years, I went through a lot of ups and downs. I was very unhappy. I drank a lot. I started drinking at 16. Never did drugs or anything, never wound up in jail, but I was always it seemed to me that I was always sad. I fought depression, didn't really want to admit it, didn't really know I was suffering from depression, quite frankly. I was too busy getting drunk. And I got to a point where I was sneaking alcohol to school. I was sneaking it to my jobs. I always carried a bottle of whiskey in my trunk. Captain Morgan it turned into. I'd find people to go buy it for me, and that's how I dealt with my feelings. And come college, I got to a very awful point in my life where my freshman and sophomore year, I could down a fifth of Captain in one night.
Whoa.
I could drink an 18-pack of beer in one night.
Wow.
And alcoholism runs in my mother's side of the family, so my mom was terrified at this point. I was doing awful things. I was smoking cigarettes, I was taking Adderall, it was awful. And I don't even touch things like Advil or ibuprofen these days just because I don't like putting medicine in my body unless I absolutely need to. But I was so numb to it at that point. It was awful. So kind of the start of my healing process, I actually had to dive back down into a place that is just unthinkable. I got into a relationship with an abusive boyfriend. And it was one night, it was a bad relationship all around. I knew I needed to get out of it, but one night he held a loaded gun to my head. And he said, if I can't be with you, no one can. Took my phone, threw it out the second story of his house when he held the gun to my head. He got out of everything because he played football. Coach got him out of everything. And it was a bad situation. And so I decided to seek counseling for myself. We broke up and I sought out counseling, and the man that I met after him was really kind of my saving grace, because he made me want to change into the person that I am now. Someone who's calm, someone who's not letting life stress them out to the point of, I can't even think straight. Fixing my bad habits, and really teaching me that a man can be good for me.
Change your perception about the whole man thing.
Yeah, I was terrified of him at first. He was 7 foot tall, and he was we were speaking about this earlier, he was from Nigeria, and he had a very calm realm about him. That's because how he grew up. He grew up with a very calm family, and I don't know how he put up with me the first year, because my drinking habits were awful. If he made me mad, I was screaming, because that's all I knew. That was my last relationship. That was kind of my upbringing. I've heard my parents scream at each other a lot. So how he put up with me, I don't know, but he did. And he did for a while. And I certainly was not the person that I wanted to be by the time we ended our relationship. And we are still friends till this day. But it started the first step. And after that, when we broke up, we actually both moved to California. He moved to Northern California. I was in Southern California. And the girl that I lived with was much like him, very calm, very cool, very collected. And it was something that she said to me one night that stood out. And I was having a conversation with my mom. It was a very stressful conversation. And she just up and left. And when she came back hours later, I said, "Where'd you go?" And she goes, "Honestly, I can't hear that conversation because it puts bad energy my way, and I don't like that." And that was when I knew I had to change. So I did. So it has been a struggle since, but I have made it a point to not let stress get to me the way that it did. If I'm upset, I react differently now. I'm a little bit more calm and collected. And I didn't drink when I was in California, really. We ate very healthy. I was working out every single day. I was off of Adderall and Vyvanse, and we just didn't really drink. I didn't like drinking anymore because I didn't like the way it made my body feel. And my ex-boyfriend, who we both can admit we were really each other's first true love. And we would link up every now and again, and I was proud to be the woman that I was when I reconnected with him. Now looking back on it, I certainly was not where I needed to be, but because I had made progress, I figured, I can be this person.
Progress are worth celebrating.
Yes. And you look back and you see kind of, how you've grown. So anyways, it was years of growing. And when I moved back to Tennessee, I kind of was getting my life together with my career, and I was gaining that confidence in being able to share my story, but I didn't know that I was ready until one day it hit me. And the picture that I had initially posted that everyone saw, that was kind of when I shared my story with the public. I remember taking that in the studio that I work in now, and Amber, the girl, she's the one that shot it. She said, "What is this for?" And I said, "You'll find out." And so I think because I'm happier with myself and I'm in a place in my life where I want to impact others positively, I can't do that unless I'm fully healed. And for years, I have worked on fully healing myself, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm not perfect by any means. There's still times where I let stress get to me, but I handle it differently now.
Yes.
And I don't know that you'll ever really know until it's there. Some people, it takes their whole life. For me, it took me 22 years. It took me a lot of time to be able to come out, but I wanted to change, though. I had two people in my life that made me want to change, and it was my ex-boyfriend and my friend, who we are still, connected. She's still in California, but those two people really made me want to be a better person. And you have to want. You can pray about it and wish that you're going to be healed, but until you take those steps to do it yourself, which is what God wants you to do. You can pray about it all day, but You have to make the first step.
Absolutely.
And I was ready to make the first step because I saw my life going this way and I wanted to go this way.
Wow.
So it was a long time coming, but since then I've had people reach out to me. Actually, one person was in my own family that shared a story with me.
Wow.
And to know, like, I don't want recognition for it, but I'm giving them a picture of what their life could be like, that I can be happy. I can eventually be a mentor for someone else. This can have a happy ending. My father and I we have a great relationship now. I was at a place in my life where I hated my father.
Yes.
But in order for me to move on and heal myself, I had to forgive him, and I had to forgive the Vaskar, the man who touched me and did things to me that I would never wish upon any boy or girl.
Right.
So my father and I have a great relationship now, and I've been able to move on. And because I was willing to forgive and move forward, I mean, it's benefited my life in ways that are unimaginable.
People don't understand that forgiveness, getting to that place where you can let go and forgive, or not letting that person who hurt you take control of your life anymore. When you're able to come out and release yourself of that place of hurt and pain, and that person no longer has power over you, that's a powerful place to be.
It is.
One of the things I think you should do at this point, your story has so many facets to it. It has so many faces. Watching us right now is the young abused man, the young abused woman, physically or verbally. Watching us right now is the addict who's smoking and drinking and just wasting their lives away. Maybe something happened that causes that. Watching us right now is somebody who's ashamed of things they didn't do, they didn't have any power over, that somebody else had power and made them feel ashamed. And it's time for them to put shame to death. What would you say, and look at them straight, what would you say to those individuals? Because I know they're watching, and this may be the one video they're watching right now, and they just need to hear something.
What I would say, life is so beautiful. And sometimes it's really hard to see that beauty because you are so blinded by negativity, you are blinded by evilness, you are blinded by your past. But it's called your past for a reason. The only thing that you have control over is the present. Therefore, you do have somewhat control of your future. In order to be a happy person, you have to want to be happy. And there are some people that live their lives unhappy from start to finish, and that is unfortunate. But use them as an example. If that's not what you want to be, start taking the first step today in realizing what it's going to take to lead you to where you want to be. Because I promise you, this is not big strides. This is not, a quick little run. This is a marathon. And it's hard, and there are days that you're gonna feel lost and you're gonna feel alone because you think no one understands what you're going through, but believe it or not, there are more people out there that know. The statistics show it, and it's awful. But if you want to be happy, it starts with you.
Wow.
You can have family, you can have friends that provide you all the help in the world, but it is you. You have to make the first step. So I encourage whoever's watching this, if you feel tied down from whatever it may be, addiction, depression, abuse, take that first step. I promise you will not regret it.
Wow.
It's a great feeling. It's a freeing feeling.
Wow.
It's awesome, but it's not easy.
Thank you for that. Because just like me, people see you and all they see is who you are now. They don't know that this woman who's been shaped into who she is and who God called her to be had to go through storms. It's funny, I'm working on a series right now called From Bottle to Beautification, and I'm addressing the whole world of addiction. My wife is a healthcare professional, so I'm getting her help to make sure I'm doing that right. And people got to understand that they don't have to stay where they are. And I'm so glad that you're able to share that, because those who are seeing you in the shining light every day on TV, they need to know that here's somebody who went through something I'm going through right now, and they rose up above, I call it above the clouds. When I travel, and I travel a lot, you know, the airplane would shake quite a bit when it's below the clouds, but when it reaches that distance and above the cloud, everything is nice and smooth.
Absolutely.
So they've seen you, but they don't know you. And this, I think this moment, talking to that person right now, might be the last thing they needed to hear to change their lives around. And I like what you said when you said, you've got to want it.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. If someone tries to force it down your throat, it's not going to work. You have to really want it.
Healing begins with realizing, I need to do something about this.
And you know, something that someone can do too in little strides, do something that you're passionate about. You know, if running, 1 mile, if that sense of accomplishment at the end of the mile gives you satisfaction, a week later, try mile 2.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, try mile 3. If giving back and volunteering, is what makes you happy, if, whatever it may be, find a way to give yourself that satisfaction so you're familiar with that feeling.
Yes.
That freeing feeling, and make strides, in the right direction.
Wow.
Baby
Absolutely.
steps.
Baby steps. You will get there if you take baby steps. If you would tell me, actually tell them some more while you're telling me that, tell us a little bit about the steps. You got the young Victoria who's looking at you right now, wants to go into the field, that specific field that you're in as a TV personality. And, maybe she's in high school, maybe she's in elementary school, but always playing with a microphone and, telling something about the weather. They're trying to get into the broadcasting world. And you're probably the first person they've seen being interviewed and not in your element right now, just being interviewed. Tell them what that world is like and what it would take for them to reach that goal.
Oh, okay. What I would suggest, we spoke about this earlier. You have to do what it takes. You have to be willing, and I say that in a sense of, I'm not talking about giving up your morality or, sacrificing, possibly doing something that you don't feel comfortable with. That's not what I mean. But getting up at 3 a.m., doing the overnight shift, working really hard and showing determination even when you're upset. I've worked for several news directors that, I didn't necessarily like. I wasn't fond of them. They were very, you got to do it my way or the highway. And it's not easy, but guess what? That's life. Like, you're gonna work for someone that you don't like, but the best thing that you can do is learn from it, grow from it, and cling to those that you really connect with. And learn from them. Don't be afraid to ask questions. As socializing as I can be, I'm actually quite a shy person at first, believe it or not. So I was afraid to ask questions, but ask the questions, get someone to look over your script. And the hardest part when starting off in this industry, in my opinion, one of the many challenges is watching yourself. It's very uncomfortable to watch yourself on camera. Watch yourself, okay? Learn from the little things. I'm a handsy talker, so when I host, I have to try and control my hands. I'm not hosting today, so I can use my hands. But watch yourself. It makes a difference, because what you feel on camera in front of the camera may look very different from behind the camera. You're not going to know that until you watch yourself, so watch yourself. Don't ever let anyone intimidate you. This is another thing that I haven't told many people, but I was actually presented the opportunity, really of a lifetime, to co-host with a former NFL should-be Hall of Famer for a big network, and had a wonderful opportunity on the plate. And they flew me out from LA and kind of wined and dined me for an entire weekend, and I got to meet a lot of great people, but at the end of the day, it was gonna take me sleeping with a producer to get the job. If you're not about that, if that's not how you want to gain success, don't do it. There are so many other options. You don't have to do that to get a gig in national television.
Listen to her.
Little did that producer know, I had already made national television. I've already been on national TV. I didn't need him, but he made me feel belittled. And I said it to him like this. I said, so let me get this straight. The woman that you're trying to boot off unexpectedly, poor girl, is gonna be blindsided. You want different results, but you're gonna approach it the same. If you want to see different results, you have to make a change. And that's what I told him that day. I said, you're not gonna treat me the way that you've treated some other people and then expect a different result. Because I'm not that kind of person. So in TV, it exists, just like in a lot of industries. But you don't have to sacrifice what you don't believe in. And I was not willing to do that. So work hard, learn a lot. I'm a talker, but I kept my mouth shut for a lot of my startup years because I wanted to learn, I wanted to listen, I wanted to gain, so that one day I could talk, I could be the mentor. But yeah, don't be afraid. Don't let a shift intimidate you. A lot of people don't understand TV is very underpaid in the beginning years. You may have to work a second job. Promise you that. I was very fortunate that I got to live at home through, some of my first jobs, or I had financial help because I was, I had roommates where I didn't have to pay as much in rent. TV is underpaid. It is, and everyone in TV it's undeniable. So you're not going to start doing it for the money, I promise you that. You have to really want to do it. But when you get to interview people that change your life, that will change your life but also change lives, that's what makes it worth it. So stick to it if you're passionate about it. I always tell people, don't do something where you may feel like you're working every single day. I mean, work is work. Yeah, you're gonna have your days where you're sipping on coffee and you'd rather be doing something else. But the majority of your day, the majority of your year should not feel like you're dragging your feet into work every single day. I love the people I work with. We laugh. Our guests that come in live in studio with us in the morning are like, how are you all so awake? We're cracking jokes. We're happy. There's some days we're so sleep deprived, we don't even know. Like, we're past the tired stage. We're just sleep deprived. And there's some days where we had a lot of coffee, or there's some days where the energy's just there. So I don't believe that I can recall one day in the past 2 years at my job that I haven't laughed in the morning. I mean, we laugh throughout the day, but in the morning time, that early in the morning, it's good energy. When you're surrounded by people that you really enjoy, it's priceless. Yeah,
it's good to do what you like. I wake up at 5 in the morning, not at 3, because I enjoy that peaceful time to meditate and do devotion before I get into the Word. And one thing that comes to mind now when you talk about that is people have to realize it's hard work to move into the place that you've always dreamed of, or your career. People got to realize that you can't wake up every morning whenever you want to and you're not making any move forward toward what you call your dream and expect it to happen. I've seen so many people pray and my preaching years, but they're not doing, and you mentioned that before, they're not doing anything to make it happen. It's one thing to say, I need a job. It's another thing to fill out a resume and actually give it to a company while you're expecting a job.
And put in the work.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you and I chatted earlier about, and even people in the public eye, it's very easy to assume that one person just has it all, you know, and that their maybe sudden fame or sudden success happened overnight. And something I read not long ago, it's a book based on defining success. And the biggest thing that I learned is that a lot of us want to define success based on dollar amounts.
Yes.
How much money do you make?
Yes.
Does that really define success? I know a lot of rich people that are unhappy.
There you go.
I know a lot of people that don't have money that are so happy, you know? So when you think of success, what makes you happy? I think that if you're living life to the fullest and you're fulfilling your happiness and you're really living with passion, that is how you define success.
I like it.
You know, you can't assume anything about anyone until I mean, it's human nature. We all tend to judge a book by its cover, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but we're human, it's gonna happen. But I think if you are mentally aware of it, you know, to not do it as much and to maybe get to know someone before you assume anything from their social media or from what you've heard, you know.
That's really good.
Yeah.
You know, that hit it in the nail for me, defining success the way you did. I remember in my 20s, I'm 41 now, about to be 42. In my 20s, I was so thirsty for not only, so I have a 30-year-old ministry, becoming 30-year-old next year. So I was a young preacher at an early age. So for me, it was, I gotta travel, I gotta go to the next place, to the next speaking engagement and all that. And that's how I found that I was being successful, so I thought. When I got into acting, it was all about finding the next audition, getting the next gig and all that, and being able to say, yeah, I got this, I nailed it. But, you know, in my 30s, as my relationship matured, I realized for me, more than booking the next gig, more than preaching at the next event, for me, it's about, is my daughter proud of me? For me, right now, it's about, would my wife say amen?
Yes.
Would she say amen if I was on the pulpit speaking? So for me, it's more about, is my family happy? Is my mom proud of me? Are my sisters proud of their brother? I'm the eldest of 4. So for me, that's how I define it now, because I enjoy coming home to a daughter who's happy to see me, a wife who's happy to see me, calling my mom on the phone and chatting. And for me, that's how it is. Yeah. So if the money comes, great. I'm working hard every day, but it's really not about the money anymore.
No.
It's not about my career getting to that place where I'm like, I'm satisfied. For me, it's coming to the place where I just want the people who love me the most to be proud of me.
And that's a great way to define success. And success for everyone is different.
It's different.
It's different, and it's okay to be different, you know? And I think as life goes, you learn things throughout each decade. I think decades are important for people, because in this decade you might be this person, in the next decade you might be this person. True. So your definition of success will change.
Very true.
It was money for you, and then now it's family.
Yeah.
And you know, but so much in life we've been put on an assembly line in a factory, and we're told this is how life is supposed to be. Lies. Exactly. Why can't you venture out? I mean, that's the beauty of life. You can do whatever you want.
Yes.
You have the right to make decisions and to change. If you don't like something in your life today, change it.
Yes.
You know, it may not be that easy, but change it. You can change it. Nobody said it might be easy, but
come on.
Yeah. So, you know.
So before we conclude, tell us what kind of stories or events you cover.
Oh, wow. I cover a wide variety of things, which is why I love my job so much, is I'm not just stuck to one thing. And thankfully,
That's exciting.
Yeah, my line of work, I have that privilege, but I also work around people who allow me to be creative. And I think that's very important in life. When you have a creative individual, like, let them create.
Innovation is the primary reason why a lot of companies do well.
Yes.
Creative people, let them create.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So, gosh, I cover everything from sports, from a high school level to a professional level. I cover stories, like I shared earlier. Her name is Kaylee, but Kaylee is a powerful person and her story needed to be told. So I interview individuals like Kaylee. I have interviewed individuals like yourself who are not from this country, who are doing wonderful things in this country to really make a difference. I just covered actually a Mexican festival. They called it the Mexican Fiestival in Bowling Green.
Nice.
But it was a cultural thing for them to raise money to be able to put back into their community to help restore
Very cool.
buildings, homes, schools, to be able to provide scholarships for the minority community. And one woman that I interviewed there said something so powerful. She said a lot of people are afraid to come to this part of town because of what it looks like. So if we can help beautify it, maybe people will want to come over and join us. And that's sad that our society is like that, but it is. So I got to spend time with people that are not from this country that literally opened their arms to me and served me delicious food and invited me into their homes and taught me about their culture. Those pieces are the most meaningful to me. I love to travel. I love to learn about cultures. I am a mixed race myself. I'm a mutt. I've got everything in me, I feel like. You know, and then I cover fun things. You know, we've covered, you know, anywhere from baking to cooking to, you know, working with animals. I mean, we're animal lovers at where I work, and they love it. So everything. And that's what makes my job really fun, is it's different. So if you're looking to go into this industry, just know that you don't have to cover the same thing every single day. One news station might require that of you, but guess what? There's other news stations where you might have to downsize and market, but that's okay. If you're allowed to be creative, do that, because I promise you will be so much happier.
Wow.
It'll make waking up at 3 a.m. so worth it, I promise.
It's exciting.
Yeah, so everything.
Tell us how to reach you. Tell us how to follow you, how to like you. What are the social media we need to be looking for? And we'll be posting that for you at the link below.
Okay, social media. Okay, my personal Instagram. I'm heavy on Instagram. You can find me. You can type in my name, Victoria, and that's just spelled generic, Victoria. Moghaddami. Get your pens out. M as in Mary, Oghaddami. It's a fun one.
Yes.
So Victoria Moghaddami. I'm a huge picture person. Twitter, you can find me just at Victoria Moghaddami. I actually might have to double check that one. We might have to come back and redo this until
we can always
edit
the right thing in there.
And Facebook, you can add me on Facebook, Victoria Moghaddami again. So please find me on social media. Right now for work, you can find me at Victoria WNKY, and that's WN as in Nancy KY. Follow what I do for work.
And then which channel do we need to watch for in the morning?
Okay, in the morning, well, if you're in the South Central Kentucky area, you can find us on Channel 40. We are an NBC and CBS station. But if you'd like to watch online, you can go to WNKY.com and you can see some of the stories that I'm doing and see what I cover. I cover feature stories that we title as Monday Motivators, Feel Good Fridays. Those are two separate things. The Monday Motivators air on Mondays. Feel Good Fridays air on Fridays. We're all about positive vibes at our station, which I love.
Nice.
So, yeah. So find me, follow me.
Fantastic. Last word, as you have graced us with your presence, any last word, anything that comes to mind that you want to say to our audience? As
a last word, what I what I want people to know that are watching this is that you really can do anything. The older that I get, the more that I grow, I realize how closed in a box I kept myself in for years, for several reasons. And we all have those reasons, but giving back to other people will change not only your life, but somebody else's life. And so find a way to cater life to your needs. And what I mean by that is, if you're not happy in your job, if you're not happy with the state that you live in, with the circumstances that you're under, change it. It may not be easy, but you have the power to change it. And you never know who you're gonna meet along the way. You never know what kind of life lesson you're gonna learn. Listen to those life lessons. There's always, always, always good things that come from a bad situation, I promise you. What happened to me as a child, I am now able to share my story with younger generations, people that are even my age, that are saying, wow, I thought that when things like that happened, you wind up continuing a negative life. And that's not true. So be the difference maker. Understand that success is not defined by money, and strive to impact people's lives positively every single day. It's not hard.
Wow. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much. I am so happy. I feel so fortuitous that you have taken the time to come to S.T.A.R Productions. And I'll be the one to say, when we cannot reach her anymore and there's no way to get in contact with her, to say, I had the opportunity.
That'll never happen. I promise. I will always be reachable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate
and so you could just follow us and subscribe. You'll have videos like this coming your way. And we'll put all the information about Victoria. Please follow her. She is one of the positive TV personality out there that you want to be in your life. Thank you for seeing, thank you for watching S.T.A.R Productions, Spiritually Trained and Renewed Productions. It is not enough to be talented, you have to be spiritually trained and renewed. Thank you. Have a great day.